Stand by. Where are you going? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, back from a 4-day break. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your holiday decorating needs, which will be here before you know it, whether you want your home decorated or maybe you want to do this as part of your own business. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, in Suffolk County on Long Island. The telephone number is 631-957-5106. And the website is liholidaylighting.com. And also brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 6317-561-125 for the best prices in town on hardware, mulch, or maybe emergency preparedness supplies if we wind up getting another tropical system up the East Coast later on in the summer or in the fall. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. So, Mr. Rayo, I must say I saw the picture that you posted, and Mrs. Rayo looked fabulous. And you looked rather dapper in your tuxedo. I've never seen you in a tuxedo before.
Well, it was a little bit of a disappointment because the place where we got the tuxedo had a button missing in the right in the front. So what?
No, I was going to make a joke and say I noticed that, but I really didn't notice it.
Well, it turned out that I was missing and also my son's father-in-law was missing a handkerchief, and so this was the tux was from a local tuxedo chain or a local haberdashery chain, which I'm not going to mention the name of, but there was one out on Long Island, just a couple of minutes away from the church. So they ran after the rehearsal to get just a couple of handkerchiefs, and
Right.
It turned out that it ended up that they broke in the process they broke my bag. And I guess in switching everything over to a new bag or whatever like that, the button came off. So I was not too happy about that. But
What kind of bag?
the garment bag.
Oh,
Garment.
oh.
And I don't know how they broke the garment bag, but they had to change and swap another garment bag and have to put everything in there, including the little tiny studs and the cuff links and everything else. And in the process, I guess something happened and we lost the button. But
Well, I would just say that next time you should make sure you get your tuxedo from Dicker and Dicker of Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
Well, the picture looks fabulous. Were the Horty Orvies good?
Everything was great. The food was great, and it also helps to have the priest who and they were actually already married. I mean, officially they got married last year, my son and my daughter-in-law, but it was a very small in-house, like maybe like 10 or 11 people were there. But the actual church service and also the event afterwards at the catering house, all of that came yesterday. And when we had the actual church service yesterday, the priest, and my goodness, I'm so sorry I don't remember his name. He was great. I mean, it helps to have a priest who could also deliver not only a sermon, but also be part stand-up comic. And he talked about a number of different things. He said, this one is they told me she's a high school chemistry teacher, and he is a high school physics teacher. I told him I was a teacher once, but once I heard what they did, because he was an English teacher, he said, I'm not even in their class. He even brought up the Wizard of Oz, Joe. I'm not even going to try to tell you how he mentioned the Wizard of Oz or weaved the Wizard of Oz into his sermon. But in any case, it was a great service to the church. It was a great Reception afterwards had a lot of people. And I said to a number of people, I said, you ever have a dream? You ever have a dream where all the people who you've interacted with and who you've enjoyed the company of, let's say in the last 20 or 30 years, somehow or other are in the same room and you're going from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And, you say to yourself, well, how is this happening? But that's how it was last night. It was kind of, the only thing I will complain about the reception is, and these were all young people, they're not of your or my age bracket.
Right. The
These
music.
were young people who demanded to have a disc jockey to play tunes that would absolutely blow your ears out. And
Well,
I had
listen. I understand that because it's I haven't been to a wedding in a while, but the last several of them, the music ruined it. Just ruined it for me. I mean, especially if you happen to be seated near where the disc jockeys are. I don't understand the music was so loud you could not hear, you could not carry a conversation at all. Okay,
well,
at all.
one of my friends had somehow or other built into his iPhone. I guess the iPhone, you could ask it to do anything, and he had on his iPhone, he was able to make, he just hold it up, and he was able to make a count on how many decibels there were, and at its peak, there was 114 decibels of noise coming from the disc jockey. And in
That's
fact,
a lot.
and he said, he told me, he said, put your hand on the wall. And I did. And as the drums are going, boom, boom, boom. I mean, you actually physically could hear the reverberation coming off of the walls, the resonance, if you will. And it was crazy. And of course, several people in my age bracket, several of my friends, and we're getting up there in years, right? And they came to me and says, can you get your son to tell the disc jockey to somehow, tone it down or whatever? And I went to my son, who was in the midst of all of this, and I said, could you tell the disc jockey that should lower a little bit? He said, Sam says it's 114 decibels. He said, 114 decibels? Wow, we're popping, aren't we?
Oh,
Boom!
God.
So, well, what are you going to do?
You can't win.
The younger generation.
You just can't win in situations like that. You can't win. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I have to expect it. Now, you saw how dapper you said I was in my tux. Oh, you were sharp.
If anybody wants to see it, it's on my Facebook page, Joe Ray Weather. But today, I said to myself, something maybe totally opposite me. I'm superstitious. When you have a really great night like last night, a great family get together with friends and everything else, you say to yourself, the next day something is going to happen. So this is why I'm wearing this particular shirt. Can you see this shirt?
Yeah.
It's a picture of a dog sitting in a room that's on fire, and all he's saying is, everything's fine, everything's okay, everything is. But it didn't. Nothing like that happened today. Thank goodness for that.
Well, this is my dog. And if the room was on fire, well, he's asleep. Little JJ. We go to this new dog park now, so I don't know why it's not. There it is. There's a little dust on the camera. And that dust was a gift from Mr. and Mrs. W.C. Ridgway of Hollyhock, Virginia. We go to a new dog park now, and it's huge, and he plays with other dogs and gets exhausted. In fact, he slept all day yesterday. After we came back, we went twice on Saturday, and yesterday morning after we finished up at the dog park, he was so wiped out. He just slept the rest of the day. We actually went back last night for a short time, but he was a few steps behind all the other doggies. But no matter. All right, we got a new week here, and I don't know. It's funny. We're here. We are. We're at the end of July, and the weather to me, I never really like to use the word boring, but I mean, because in one way there is quite a bit going on, but it's not enough to really cause any big issues. We just seem to be kind of floating along from day to day.
Well, and to quote our mutual friend Alan Casper, sometimes Alan would go on CBS or Fox 5, wherever he was doing TV, and he would look straight into the camera and said, "You know what? The weather is boring, but if it's boring for me, it's great for you."
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
that's true. Yeah, because you don't get the chance to get into all these technical issues or whatever. When there's not much to talk about, well, it's pretty good
Yeah,
for
there's
everybody
no
out there.
there are no big systems around. There's typical sort of what I would describe as sort of typical late July type weather going on. Few places having some thunderstorms, including me, by the way. Is it still? It was. It got very dark here about a half an hour ago, and I could hear the thunder, but I don't think the thunderstorm made it to me. It must have made it to the other side of the mountain. But I'll bring up the satellite loop, and we can get things rolling along on this Monday, the 26th of July. And by the way, Chuck Cardillo, thank you for hitting Super Chat tonight. Most appreciated. And Chuck's kind of getting back on his feet after some medical issues. So we wish him well, and I'm sure everybody on the chat board wishes him well. One day at a time, Chuck. One day at a time. We're looking at just you look at the southeast and the mid-Atlantic states. There's just some blow-up thunderstorms. They had a severe thunderstorm watch-up for parts of southern Virginia, North Carolina. You can see some storms did blow up there, and there were a number of warnings earlier. They seem to have just subsided. Off the coast of Georgia is that weak circulation that formed last Friday off the Florida coast, and it never really was able to develop into anything. Usually it's the other way around, where you have a lot of convection, but you can't seem to get a low level center going. This time around, we got actually a pretty well defined low level center, but the upper air conditions were not. They weren't terribly unfavorable, but they certainly weren't favorable enough to get this to develop even into a tropical depression, let alone a tropical storm. And now that little circulation's coming on shore. There's a couple of showers going on in South Georgia, northern Florida. You wouldn't know the difference between that and anything else that would have happened in the summertime. In the Northeast, how was the smoke today by you? Because I'm looking at the satellite, Joe. Looks like there is smoky skies across the Dakotas, the Great Lakes, and up through New England. There's some breaks in between that, so I don't know why that is the case. There's some breaks in between where the smoke is not as obvious, but it is looking pretty hefty out to the west across the lakes and back over to the plains, and that seems to be headed in our direction for later tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, I didn't really. I must tell you, I did so much, this morning, and driving back home and whatever. It seemed to me it was hazy out there. Not overly so like last week, but yeah, I could see on the satellite what you're talking about with all of that haze or that milky white over the Great Lakes that appears to be heading eastward. By the way, I'm scratching my head at a post that Paul Roman had just placed on the chat board here. He said 17.52 inches of rain for the year. Are you sure about that, Paul? For the year in Ulster County, New York, dry lately. I would believe
I would have thought that it would have been
for the month, right?
Well, I was going to say I would have thought that he might have meant the month of July, the way many areas are approaching records if they haven't broken. Binghamton, I saw, broke their July rainiest July on record, so I'm guessing he probably means for the month.
I think that's probably more likely than New York City is now up to well, they got a bronze medal so far. They're number 3 at Central Park for the third wettest July in history. And,
how much? What's their number up to?
Something like 10 point something. They're only about 1.6 inches away from the number 1, from the top. And all I guess we need, or Central Park would need, is a couple of local soakers, between now and Saturday.
One solid thunderstorm, that might do it.
In fact, we had some now again, we got back from the catering hall. The Watermill Inn, by the way, any of you who are on Long Island or in the tri-state area, and thinking about hosting a party or maybe having a wedding of your own or whatever, the Watermill Inn is. And Joe, I said more than once to a couple of people, you're almost within walking distance of the Watermill Inn, I think. I mean, that was your neighborhood.
Well, it wasn't walking distance, but certainly, it would have been a very easy drive to there. My daughter got married there.
Yeah, we had a couple of people who were actually asking about you last night. Dennis Cassio was there, and he says,
Yes.
So where's your compadre? Where's your partner in crime or whatever?
Yeah, I'm sorry I was not able to come up.
He's down in Georgia. Pete Bergman, for God's sake, another person who's a lurker. He's never on the chat board, Pete is, but he's a big fan of ours. We all went to City College together, and he was disappointed too that you weren't there as well. So
Yeah.
all the more reason, Joe, you have to, we have to start really seriously thinking about this. You said you're going to be coming up in August for a dental appointment.
No, the week before Labor Day is when I have to come up to get my teeth cleaned.
Okay, so we have to figure out something. I think we have to figure out.
No, I've been meaning to mention it to you. I'm probably going to stay. I was thinking of be up for about 10 days, so I may actually come up like the weekend before. Say the Thursday or Friday before the weekend before Labor Day weekend. Okay, I don't know what the date of that is.
The Joe and Joe, I don't know what, the conference or the Joe and Joe congregation of people. And I don't know whether or not we could do it, let's say, in a park, or maybe we can you and I could just pick a restaurant somewhere out in the tri-state area and just say, all right, all of you people, you want to come? Let's all congregate at this one spot or whatever. And
yeah, well, it is doable. We'll discuss this. We shall discuss.
Okay.
All right. So there's an upper low in the western Gulf of Mexico. So I'm going to pre-anticipate any tropical storm questions. If anyone is going to ask me about the clouds in the western Gulf, that's a cold upper low that's rotating back westward and not of any concern. There's a couple of upper lows out in the Atlantic. Also not of much concern. You can see clouds and moisture going up into the northwest, and we continue to see quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. It's been going on for well over 10 days now in the southwestern part of the United States with some heavy rains in parts of Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. And, of course, the showers and thunderstorms across the Tennessee and the Tennessee Valley through North Carolina, southeastern Virginia. We'll take a look at the radar. You see these storms, by the way, were stronger about 2 hours ago. They've actually diminished a bit. There are have a severe thunderstorm warning that looks like it's up for areas pretty close to Washington, D.C. And south of Baltimore. Special marine warning in Chesapeake Bay. Another one just expired in northwestern Virginia in Johnny Quest land, and also one in southwestern Virginia. That looked like that went away. And otherwise, across the south, it's more of the typical afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms across Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, back through Arkansas. And then you can see some strong storms from central Kansas on southward into Oklahoma. The southwest, pretty busy radar here in the southwest, and even into Southern California, quite a few showers and thunderstorms. I wonder if it looks like it's probably north of LA, but nonetheless, it's a little unusual to see showers and thunderstorm activity this active in Southern California this time of year, but very busy in southwestern Utah, southern Nevada, and New Mexico. New Mexico has actually been getting quite more of the rain than anybody else in the last 48 hours or so. Now, as far as severe weather is concerned, let me just roll back to day one here, and that's tonight into tomorrow. We've got slight to enhanced risk across eastern, north, and South Dakota, and the enhanced risk in eastern Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, That this is all due to the next weather front that's kind of moseying along, and they've got a 2% tornado risk there, a 15% wind risk, and a 30%, a 15 to 30% risk of hail of at least 2 inches in diameter within 25 miles of any point up. And that weather front is going to be approaching tomorrow night, where the Storm Prediction Center has a marginal risk of severe weather across much of upstate New York, including the Hudson Valley, down to northern New Jersey, all of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, and also marginal back from Wisconsin over into Kansas, with a small area of slight risk in southern Minnesota. And as we move on to day three being Wednesday into Thursday, looks like marginal risk from northern Virginia, much of Maryland, the western half of PA, north and west back again to Wisconsin, Minnesota, northwestern Iowa. So that seems to be the bullseye zone at the moment. I thought, Joe, that Thursday, now we could see some storms tomorrow night. We'll see if they hold together or not. But I thought Thursday afternoon with the that's a pretty strong upper trough and cold front coming through, that I thought that there might be a good chance that we could have a little severe weather risk around here on Thursday.
You say around here in the tri-state?
Well, I mean, when I say that, I mean area wide, from the Hudson Valley all the way down into northern Virginia, and everybody in between might be at risk for some severe weather on Thursday with that cold front that follows the one on Tuesday.
Yeah, and it looks like a pretty significant front, and the timing would probably be what? We are probably in the late night hours of Thursday on toward Friday morning, you think?
You know what? I don't know. It looked like we were going to get some stuff on Thursday, and then there's kind of a secondary trough that comes on Friday, because that actually is that's where the dry air is. The dew points don't really come down until after that second trough comes through on Friday. So I kind of thought it might be like later in the day, Thursday or Thursday evening, with a lead front that comes running out ahead.
You know, timing out these type of outbreaks has been a little bit tricky. I mean, take yesterday, for example. Yesterday we had a warm front move on in, and we saw some relatively light rain here for the morning hours. Then that cleared away. The sun came out beautifully during the midday and afternoon, but hanging over our head was the threat of thunderstorms, and possibly a few of them could be nasty. Thought that would happen, toward the end of the afternoon or early evening. But then around 11 o'clock last night, all of a sudden, there was a breakout of some really hefty activity. And that was over the parts of the lower Hudson Valley and extended down into New York. And there were flood warnings that were posted, and severe thunderstorm warnings that were posted. Again, around 10 or 11 o'clock, much later than a lot of folks were anticipating. And then that very quickly moved on through. So it's Monday evening, and again, we're trying to determine where thunderstorms may break out for sometime later Thursday or Thursday night. So I think the fact right now is that, yeah, we do anticipate some activity of some nature, and exactly when it may occur, well, again, probably later in the day Thursday, or maybe it might even be Thursday night, or maybe spilling over into early Friday morning, depending upon as Joe mentioned, the upper trough and where the actual front is. So, I mean, it'll get possibly a little crazy, a little nasty again here later on in the week. But I think, Joe, the best thing that you and I can both agree on is that after that system moves on by, we're looking at some pretty nice weather for Friday and on into the upcoming weekend, the start of the upcoming weekend, in fact, maybe most of the upcoming weekend.
And it also looks like there could be some nice dew point relief along the way, and it could take. And next week, I was looking at the models this morning. If it plays out according to plan, we've got this nice northwest flow from Canada. We could have a fairly nice stretch of weather to kick off the month of August. So low dew points and reasonable temperatures Although I found out today that there are some people that actually like dew points at 70 or better. There are some people that do. I'm not one of them.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I haven't had I have not had the need to look back over many years of weather records. I just simply know, and I know because next Monday is the 2nd of August, and it's also my birthday. And I just know that every time my birthday rolls around, the weather for the month of August reflects what happens on my birthday. If I have a day on my birthday where it's hazy and hot and sticky and humid, and by the way, Joe, it's never snowed on my birthday. I wonder why.
I wonder why.
When we have oppressive and humidity to deal with, and it comes on my birthday, that usually sets the stage for the entire rest of the month. If we have lovely weather, dry weather, low humidity weather, and sunny skies, I think that too sets the stage. It seems then that the month of August turns out to be pretty nice, pretty decent. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that we will have indeed some nice weather in time for my natal day on Monday. Not so much because it's my birthday, but because I know, and based upon past history, that the weather usually turns out rather nice for all of us. And by the way, when I was born, way back, and I'm not even going to mention the year, but it was on a Thursday, if you want to play games here and trying to figure this out. But on my birthday, it was 75 degrees, and it was probably one of those unusually low humidity days, Joe, probably low dew point days. Probably the dew point was no higher than 50, maybe it was in the 40s. Blue sky, puffy fair weather clouds, lovely, lovely weather.
Well, we might see that. We might see that to celebrate the anniversary of your 29th birthday. We may see that. Yes. We may see that again. As for rainfall records, however, wherever you are, if you happen to be shy of making it the all-time wettest month of July for you, well, the WPC, at least from the northern half of New Jersey up into New England, forecasting anywhere from half an inch to an inch of rain over the next 7 days. So that takes us to next Monday night. So obviously, the month coming to an end on Saturday, you're going to have to break those monthly records by getting all that rainfall on Saturday. The thing that stands out to me is the fact that the rainfalls are looking rather substantial in the western part of the United States, particularly in the central Rockies and in the Southwest, and then moving northward up through Utah, Nevada, Idaho, Wyoming. We talked about the fact that a lot of these areas are under severe drought. So I'm guessing that the rain of the last 8 or 9 days has maybe alleviated some of that. Maybe later this week we'll take a look at what the drought map has to say. And going forward, I want to bring up. I set up the upper air to take a look at what's happening, and it's odd. Well, it's not really odd so much, but I guess we keep looking at the it's almost like in the wintertime, we keep looking at these models, looking for things to happen down the road, and sometimes you see where the pattern looks like it's going to change, and it doesn't. We've been dealing with this northwest flow in the upper atmosphere for quite a while, and it ebbs. It's been ebbing and flowing since June, and every time we see a forecast of it attempting to go away, well, it doesn't seem to want to do that. Fortunately, I'm trying to my map up a little bit, and I'm not sure what's going on. Now, I've got weather going on around here. I don't know if it's raining. It got dark again outside, but I'm thinking that might be impacting my internet signal, because I'm having a real tough time moving these maps back and forward. Okay, so let's try now. Nope. Come on, seriously.
Joe, in situations like this, what you ought to do is what the late great Tex Antoine used to do: stand in front of a bulletin board with oak tag, and just simply change the oak tag.
But you can't. You can't oak tag the 500 millibar vorticity. I don't know why it's doing this. Well, anyway, I have it here for Thursday night. Now we got this front that's coming. I want to look at Thursday night because this upper trough for Thursday to me looks a little bit more dynamic. And in fact, at this level, which is by the way, it's not the 500 millibar level; it's the 700 millibar. There's so about 10,000 feet. We are seeing, and this is Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. There's a lot of jet streaks there, Joe, with some 50 knot winds or higher showing up. So I'm thinking that's a pretty good indicator of wind shear. So I'm thinking that we could see some strong thunderstorms for Thursday night, and then you kind of there's like a secondary trough that sort of swings through on Friday. If I could ever get this map to move, there we go. It comes through on Friday, and it's behind that we get that real dew point relief. Take a look at this on Sunday. There's an upper low that dives down into southeastern Canada. I mean, this is pretty impressive for early August, and that would bring in some substantially lower dew points for early next week. Of course, on this particular run of the model, we see that the bottom of the trough got lagged behind, and we went through this a few weeks ago. With a low dropping down into the Ohio Valley and moisture trying to come up the East Coast later next week. I don't know whether that's true or not, but we'll have to watch that carefully since if it did it once, it's liable to do it again. But this is this is a fairly strong northwest flow for late July, early August to be in the eastern part of the United States.
Yes, and just took a quick peek at the Climate Prediction Center. In fact, if you want to give me sharing capabilities.
You already have it.
All right. Okay, that's good. Very, very good. And I will put what I just was looking at up on the screen here. And yeah, that would be nice to see that kind of weather prevail as we move into the normally steamy month of August. Just as steamy some years as is July. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to share. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share that screen instead. All righty. And so what we're going to look at first is the 6 to 10 day outlook. And this goes from August the 1st to August the 5th, the first 5 days of August. And looky what we have here, Joe. The folks over at CPC have below normal across much of the Great Lakes and the Northeast. And look up here. I mean, this is what? This is 60. This is 70%. 70% chance of below normal temperatures. And Dennis Cassia, if you're watching, and I know you are, this will be of special note to you because from August the 5th through August the 8th, up in Springfield, Vermont, they have the annual Stella Fane Conference, Joe. This is like a Woodstock with telescopes. At least the telescopes are out during the night and even during the day looking at the sun, but at night too. And they also have lectures and interesting talks on astronomy. And I've been to Stella Fane in some years where we've actually renamed it Stella Flood. Where we've had heavy rains and the field, the fields there. You know, it's not the most impressive campsite, if you will. It's actually a little. I'm not going to say Spartan, but I mean, when it rains and it rains heavily, you don't want to. You got to hope that your car doesn't get stuck in the mud or whatever. But on those days or times when it's cool and dry and pleasant, it's a wonderful place to be. I mean, for God's sake, you're up in Vermont, and where would anybody like to be in the summertime but Vermont? But in any case, it looks like cool weather as we kick off the Stella Fane Conference, which starts again on August the 5th. Let's take a look and see. This is the map that takes us into August the 3rd through August the 9th. Still below normal in much of the Northeast, and especially so up in central and northern Vermont. And as far as precipitation-wise is concerned, wow, look at that. Joe, you're pointing out that northwest flow, and that looks like it's going to be a dry northwest flow, below normal precipitation across much of the Northeast again. And as you also mentioned, in the places where it really needs it, we have above normal precipitation for Idaho and parts of Montana and Oregon and Utah and Nevada. So it looks like it is going to be rainy, or at least some wetness falling in places that do need it. But here in the Northeast, dare I say, cool and dry for not only the first 5 days of the month of August, but, well, it looks like it's trending more toward normal by the 3rd to the 9th of August, but still dry across New England. So it looks like, if you want to take all this at face value, that the northeastern United States, and especially New England, are going to be enjoying some cool, dry, pleasant stretch of weather right on through the first week of August, and dare we say maybe even be a little beyond.
Well, yeah, the trend is your friend, this northwest flow. We saw what it did back in June, where we saw those days where the dew points got down close to 40 in some places, and now we're getting into August, and as these troughs start coming down, the air masses coming down from Canada are going to start getting cooler. So that'll be something to look forward to if that pattern holds. And I'll just say that even though when you look at the daily runs of the models, you always see it back late in the period that it starts to change. It brings more of a ridge here in the eastern part of the United States. Well, we were supposed to be in a big heat ridge for this week. And going into this weekend, back about 8 or 9 days ago, according to the long range, and not even close. So so we'll stick with the trend being our friend until such time comes that it tells us otherwise. Now here's our front. This is going to be a little unusual for tomorrow night, Joe, because it looks like the thunderstorms timed themselves after 8 o'clock. They reached the Hudson Valley. They're north and west of New York City at 8 p.m., and at 2 a.m., what's ever left of them are dying out across Long Island and southeastern New England. So this looks like, SPC's got that risk area up in northern Pennsylvania and points northward. So you look at the models, that sort of matches up pretty well. There's not a whole lot going on elsewhere in the southeast other than the usual, and down in the Gulf states, other than the usual summertime afternoon showers and storms. Having the same trouble with this round. I preloaded these maps so that we wouldn't have to sit here looking at the circle of death. And for some reason, I'm having just some trouble here with updating them. Now, here's the front for Thursday. So Thursday afternoon, the GFS already has convection in northern New Jersey. We had this happen, when was this? Late last week, we had this happen where the thunderstorms fired up around lunchtime. This is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's not that far off in terms of the similar timing here. And then that front goes out. There's a little secondary push that comes through on Friday, and we'll probably see some dew point relief Friday night and Saturday. Here comes another front for Sunday, which might bring some showers and storms around. And then after that, we got a nice big high building in Monday, 1024 high, sitting just north of Sault Ste. Marie next Monday night. That's a pretty strong high. Now, here we saw what happened with the trough lagging back, and you see the moisture forming in the southeast, and it kind of lifts it up the Appalachians because the model tries to build a ridge off the East Coast. We'll see if that winds up being anything to be believed. But the bottom line is, there's no real change here in terms of the overall upper air pattern. There is one thing I want to talk about with respect to the tropics. I'm going to bring up the Atlantic map. And, we noticed this last week and late last week going into the weekend that there seems to be what looks like an increasing amount of wind shear across the tropical Atlantic at some point in the forecast period. Now, it looks like it actually disappears. Here we are on day 8 and 9, but I guess right before that, you'll notice in the Caribbean, and you'll notice out throughout a lot of the tropical Atlantic that we have some relatively strong shear going on. Now, there is something that comes out, and this is more than 7 days away, so who knows what the reality is here with respect to this. But after that, when we get toward after the first week of August, it does look like the upper air pattern does sort of relax a little bit, but it's not the most ideal conditions for tropical cyclone development out, at least in the tropical Atlantic. There's strong shear off the African coast. There's shear. The whole Gulf of Mexico seems to be loaded with shear. So it's a La Nina year. We should be seeing activity really rev up pretty soon. And in fact, Joe, the La Nina is strengthening again as we move through the latter part of the summer and into the fall. I mean, that should spell for ideal conditions for tropical cyclone development, but we got to get this, you got to get this shear has to be cleaned up out in the Atlantic. Now I'm getting a little few more frames seem to be moving, but again, this is not the sort of setup that you want that you see in the upper air that creates ideal conditions with regards to tropical cyclone development. Chuck Cardillo says, have I seen the forecast? PNA's forecast to go off the wall positive. That's something we haven't done in a while. Let me see. Let's bring that up. Hopefully, my links are still in there, so that's good.
I love how Mark G on the chat board says, pretty soon we're going to start seeing blue on those maps in Canada.
Yes, pretty soon we will.
A little early to start talking about that.
Look at that PNA. Now, I don't know what this means in the summertime. We pay attention. We always do the teleconnections in the from mid-fall to mid-spring. We really don't always look at this, but Joe, look how off the wall the PNA is. That means that there's going to be a really strong ridge in the western part of the United States. We're talking 4 standard deviations above the mean here. That's huge.
Well, if we have such a big ridge out west, wouldn't that mean that we would have some kind of a big sweep of northwesterlies into the eastern United States?
Well,
that seemed to make some sense based upon what the boys and girls at CPC, Climate Prediction Center, are kind of alluding to for at least our part of the country.
Well, the peak here is around August 2nd or 3rd. So, I mean, that sort of, August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the thing skyrockets, which is when that deep trough, Sundays when you have that deep trough swinging through the southeastern Canada, and that strong northwest flow to bring the westerlies all the way down to Georgia. So there's your +4 PNA, and what it does. Let's look at let me bring the NAO up.
John, I have to attend to something in the other room, so I'll be right back. But I'll still be monitoring what you're saying.
Okay. Well, the NAO, most of the members are positive, but there are, we're in a negative phase of the NAO right now. It looks like more of them go positive. Some of them just get back to the neutral line and stay negative. I not looking at this, not really usually looking at this during the summer months. I'd have to defer to somebody who knows the implications of what the NAO being negative in the summertime. I seem to recall that negative NAOs in the summer usually mean hot weather, but if you got a big ridge like that in the east with the strong PNA, that's not going to happen. So you're going to have more of a northwest fast flow with weather fronts continuing to come through from time to time. So pretty interesting that we got a chance to at least look at the teleconnections, and we are a bit out of practice. So at some point, when we start to look at these things at a regular basis, it will it'll start coming back to me in terms of what all this stuff means. And I did save it. Where did I do with it? Oh, here it is. So there is one tropical storm in the Pacific that is moving inland near Shanghai, and that's Tropical Storm Infa. I'm guessing that is, Joe, but this one now, of course, because it was approaching Japan a few days ago, and now, of course, then it moved to the South China Sea, and now it's moving inland near Shanghai as a minimal tropical storm. Top winds are 35 miles an hour. I'm just going to see if we have if there's any other ones out there. Nepartak. Let's see where that is. This is at 32 north and 150 east. So, I mean, this one is actually off the coast of, It's east of Tokyo, moving northwest. So maybe this was the one that they were looking at. This is the first time I really, I saw Infa. I didn't, I didn't look at for another one, but apparently this one is approaching and going north of Tokyo, making landfall across Japan, and then crossing out to the east. We're looking at winds here of 40 knots, gusting to 50, and then weakening, of course, after making landfall. So I mean, this is also just a tropical storm, and you can see it on Tropical Tidbits. If you go to their current Tropical Tidbits current storms page, you can pull up satellites and everything else. This is just like a nice gigantic swirl out there, out in the Pacific Ocean that is moving west. It's actually a floater here. Look at that. So there you go. Well-defined circulation. Looks like most of the convection is actually on the west side. And you can see where the land is, where Japan, the landmass is. And they're getting bands of rain that are coming in from the east. So anyhow, that pretty much ends that. Are you back yet?
I'm here. Can you see,
okay.
Can you see me?
Yeah, hold on.
Here I am.
Yeah, hold on. And by the way, tropical. I've been waiting days to use this joke, but tropical storm Infa should not be confused with a tropical system in the Mediterranean heading for Italy. Tropical storm Ufa. By the way, there's no tropical storm. There's no tropical storm heading for or a Medicane, as they call them now when you get these small cyclones that form in the Mediterranean, which has happened on and off in the last couple of years. That they call them Medicanes.
Yes.
So anyhow, the chairman sent us a Briller Jeopardy, and his mom is coming along nicely. So we're glad to hear that. One step at a time. You know what? By the way, Mother Briller, you should know that skateboarding is now an Olympic sport. So you got to get fixed up so that maybe 4 years from now in the next Summer Olympics you could get into the skateboard competition. So let's roll.
Did you hear, by the way? You've seen that commercial where I think it's a Geico commercial where they throw a frisbee on the roof and
yes.
An Olympic gymnast who bounces up and gets it and comes back down. The guy says, "Thank you, Michaela." I believe I read earlier today, Michaela's going bye-bye. She didn't make the cut for the gymnastic qualifications.
Oh, well, you know what?
She's also the oldest. She's also the oldest, I think. She's 24, Joe. That's old.
That's ancient, that's ancient for a gymnast. Oh. Well, you know what? She's getting money from she's getting paid from the Geico commercial, so that's good. Have you seen the new? Have you seen the new one? Which I thought was really funny. They've had these husband and wives sitting for homeowners insurance, and there was the one where they had a rat problem, and it was the rock and roll band Rat that was singing in the basement, and there was another group of Geico commercials saying they said that they had ants, and then they would cut to the picture all their AUNTS were living in the house with them, and well, the new one is that they're sitting around and they're saying, we got our homeowners insurance, but we're having trouble with the bathroom. There's too much pressure. Okay, that's the phrase they use. There's too much pressure, so you're supposed to think it's the water pressure is too high, and then they cut to the bathroom, and the mirror talks to you and says, "You're not wearing that, are you?" And the shower faucet suddenly has two eyes and a mouth and starts talking to you about your habits. I thought that was really clever. Wait, when you see it come on, it's only played a few times. It's brand new, but I'm sure it'll get a good play in the next month or so. Pay attention to it because it's really funny. Okay, so Briller Jeopardy tonight. The theme, Mr. Rayo, is game shows. Okay, the debut years of these game shows.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay. So, on that note, let's get going here. The first one is the Gong Show.
Oh, was that about? And do I have a 2 or 3 year?
Within three.
Within 3.
Within 3,
Well,
and you, if you get 8, you could be a guest host on any remake.
how about 19? I'm going to say 1974 for the Gong Show.
1976. A Chuck,
Wow.
was it Barry or Chuck Barris?
Barris.
Barris, I thought so. Okay. The next one, Joe, is the Newlywed Game.
Well, that goes back a ways. I think the Newlywed Game. I can even remember when it was in black and white. I'll say 1965.
Very good, 1966. And right after the Newlywed Game was the Dating Game. Although they should have had the Dating Game on first and then the Newlywed Game.
I'll say, well, that was 66 for the Newlywed Game. I'll say 65 for the Dating Game.
65 it is. 65 it is.
Yeah.
The next one is To Tell the Truth.
That was 1956.
And 1956 is the correct answer. What's My Line?
That was 1950. February 2nd. Groundhog Day, 1950.
Oh, very good. Very good.
And who was the first mystery guest on What's My Line? Phil Rizzuto, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes.
Really? The next one, number 6, is Let's Make a Deal.
Let's Make a Deal, 1964.
1963, you're doing quite well. The Hollywood Squares.
Hollywood Squares. Which star is it?
Right.
I'll say 60. I'll say 66 for the Hollywood Squares.
66 is the correct answer. On the nose, Mr. Rayo.
Yes.
And by the way, I went to high school with the niece of Peter Marshall.
Yes,
Which-
you know what
with-
Peter Marshall's real name? You know who Peter Marshall's real name is, right?
No.
You don't know?
No.
Really?
What is Peter Marshall's real name?
Peter Lecoq. Honest to God.
Oh, he must have. They must have had fun
now
with
you-
him in grammar school.
And now you know why he is to us Peter Marshall.
Yeah, I
And in
would.
fact, I'm not sure if he had his son or a relative of his was actually a baseball player. And actually, there was actually a baseball player named Pete Lecoq. He didn't check. The baseball player didn't change his name. He was known as Lecoq, not Marshall. But Marshall was Lecoq.
Oh, okay.
Look it up on Wikipedia.
Listen, I'm not saying. Did I deny what you say?
No.
No, I support you.
Okay.
The next one is The Price is Right. The not the original Price is Right, by the way.
Oh, with Bill Cullen?
Right.
Right.
Not that
you want
one.
The one with. You want the one that started in September of 1972 with Bob Barker.
Right. That is
And it was-
correct.
it was called-
1972.
It was called The New Price is Right.
Right, exactly. Now, before we had Jeopardy with the late Alex Trebek, we had This is Jeopardy! And
Right, with Don Pardo.
with Don Pardo announcing and Art Fleming as the host.
1960. Now, I remember when I'm going to say 64.
1964 is the correct answer. And last on this is The Wheel of Fortune.
Compton's Pictures Encyclopedia
Yeah.
is a source of preparation for the question and answers used on Jeopardy.
I forgot
And
about
now,
that.
once again,
Here's
Art
Art
Fleming.
Fleming. And they had the curtain. They would open the curtain up to reveal the answers. Right. Do you think they ever watched? It's a good thing the show was in black and white for a lot of its run, because I don't know if they ever washed that darn curtain. And
Yeah.
the last one is The Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune. I say Squeal of Fortune because one of the funniest things I've ever seen on Sesame Street. They actually did a takeoff on Sesame Street on Wheel of Fortune, Joe, except that in the middle of the wheel they had a pig.
Yes, I've seen that. Yes.
Squeal, and instead of you go squeal. Oh.
God. By the way,
now,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go.
No, I was just going to say, of the shows listed here, I actually saw Jeopardy done live. I used to write for tickets, and I went.
Actually got it. The Art Fleming version.
Yep, I actually saw that show done live a few times. I used to write for tickets. Because remember, in those days, those shows that at least that were filmed in New York, they would always have something on there. So if you'd like to, be part of our studio audience, just write to, whatever the address was. And I was so thrilled that I had gotten tickets for Jeopardy, because I think I was the only person my age that actually watched the show and loved it. But anyway, yeah, I got to see it live in the NBC studios. I want to say 6A. I want to say Studio 6A when I went to see it. And then I also saw What's My Line being...
but the syndicated version.
Yeah, this was in the early 70s, if I remember correctly, or late 60s, I'll say early 70s.
Was this with Wally Bruner?
Oh, it was mid 70s, and I think Don Pardo was also the voice.
I think it was Johnny Carson, Johnny Olson.
I don't know, but I do remember. I think it was Don Pardo that. There were a couple of there were so many different. Who knows? The syndicated version. No one was carrying it. During the regular week. I don't know. Oh well, but anyway, I did get to see it.
So Wheel of Fortune now, that's going back to the original question here. It's interesting. We all think of Pat Sajak and Vanna White, but actually, when this show started, it was started with two completely different people.
Right, Chuck Woolery.
And Susan Strasberg.
Yes.
And that was back in like the mid 70s. I'm going to say 1975.
Yeah, and Chuck wanted too much money, I think, and they let him go.
Yeah.
So now
was I right with the 1975 or?
Yeah, probably around that. 75 was correct, I believe.
Oh.
For the debut of the Wheel of Fortune, yes. Because I took the questions off. I think it was 1975. Let me double check. If you want me to double check, I'll double. Yes, 1975 it is. So you did exceptionally well. So you can get to co-host any remake if they ever remake any of those that they're not still making. Anyway,
how about the game show that Johnny Carson was the host of?
Oh, the one he walked out on so that he could do the Tonight Show. When I say walked out, I mean he broke his contract apparently.
Well, he didn't break the contract. ABC wouldn't let him.
Oh, okay.
Break the contract. NBC, when Jack Parr left the Tonight Show, and Johnny Carson was the one to take over. They wanted Johnny Carson to start like in April or May, and ABC would not let him go because he was the only thing that people were watching on ABC in the afternoons. It was from 1958 to 1962, and the show that he was the host of was Who Do You Trust? And it was more or less, Who Do You Trust was kind of like Groucho Marx's You Bet Your Life. It was mostly, Johnny, doing conversations with, unusual people. And then at the end of the conversation, all right, let's see how much money you can make. But it was interesting. And also, incidentally, that's where Johnny Carson ended up with Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon was Johnny Carson's announcer on that show on ABC in the late 50s. And when he went to the Tonight Show, he said, Ed, come on, you're going to come with me, and the rest is history. It's amazing.
By the way, Peter Marshall is now 95 years old.
He's still alive. Wow.
And his
Wow.
sister is. Let me just take a look here. His sister was Joanna Drew, who was an American film and television actress, and actually was in. Yeah, that's right. Now I remember her because her face is familiar. There's a the 19. I want to say 1949 Best Picture was All the King's Men, I believe, and she was in that. She was also in She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, Red River, and Wagon Master, among other things that she did. So that was Peter Marshall's sister, and her real name was Joan Letitia Lecoq.
Well,
Did they pronounce it that way, or did they pronounce it Lecoq?
Oh, I don't know. I think look, the ball player, the one
Right,
who
Pete
related to
Lecoq.
Peter Marshall,
Right.
he was Pete Lecoq. So I'm making the assumption that Peter Marshall was Peter Lecoq.
Yes, that's his name was actually his name was Ralph Pierre Lecoq,
Okay, and there you are.
and he has very strange eyebrows, very strange eyebrows. Izzy
Chuck
D.
Cardillo,
Yeah,
Chuck Cardillo's right on the chat board. He said Vanna White was a contestant on The Price is Right, and if you ever saw they played on Price is Right anniversary shows. Here she comes down the aisle, and she's wearing a very tight T-shirt, and on the front of the T-shirt it says "Let's get serious," and Bob Barker did take note of that. Well, Vanna White, and Vanna wants to get serious, so let's take a look at the first item coming up for bid.
it's so weird. Hollywood is such a weird place. Izzy D hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Izzy. Most appreciated. Let's see. Remember, you chastised the word. I haven't. Christina Petey is reminding me that I chastised somebody for making fun of the penis-shaped rocket. Okay, rocket. I'm not really doing that, but okay, I get your message. You're right.
Yeah. We're
not making.
We're not making this up. This is actual factual information that Peter Marshall is indeed really Pierre Lecoq.
All right. Anyway, before we degenerate into 5-year-olds here with teasy little giggles and all the rest of it, let us call an end to this program, and we shall return tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern Time. So thanks everybody for being here. I don't know about you, but I enjoyed my 4 days of getting my brain to recharge a little bit. So it was a plus for me.
Well, it's for you. It was 4 days of recharging. For me, it was like never-ending, preparation and getting ready for the big event yesterday. So it was. I mean, like the alarm in our hotel went off at 6:45 yesterday morning because Renata had to get her hair done. All the ladies in the bridal party were getting their hair done on a Sunday in the morning at like 7:30. Absurd, but what are you getting up so early for?
By the way, Izzy D wants us to have if we get together, he wants it to be at a kosher restaurant. So we'll have to figure this one out somehow.
Yes.
Okay. Or at least that they have kosher options. Let's put it that way.
Right.
All right. I don't know. We'll work on it. We'll figure it out. Okay. All right. Enough. Good night, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, Joe.
Yes, I didn't shut it off. I didn't shut it off.
Are we off?
We're not off.
Oh, good. Library talk for me tomorrow night. So that starts at 7 o'clock. So tomorrow night's show has to be, unless you want to go solo, at 8:30.
Let me go solo tomorrow. And
Okay.
if I do go solo, maybe I'll do it a little earlier because I got a couple of things I got to do also. So we'll leave it hanging as far as tomorrow's show. Okay.
All right.
But
Okay.
I'll go solo. Okay. All right. So we'll see you Wednesday
Bye.
then, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Night.